What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Mike Check Yourself show with your host, Legacy Mike. I am so excited today to get this started. This is actually a passion project of mine, something I just wanted to do this year, was just to launch a show, a podcast, a place, a community, a gathering of people that have the same mission, vision, and values, that people that are going against the grain, the unemployable, the entrepreneurs, the misfits, the people that don't fit into regular society, the people that aren't afraid to get sent to the principal's office, the people that aren't scared to say what needs to be said, regardless if it offends somebody or HR is watching, because we're not worried about that. We're entrepreneurs. We live our own lives. We do what we want. So welcome to the Mike Check Yourself show. I'm calling this the Legacy Lounge. You notice I got the legacy behind me. They call me Legacy Mike because I'm always trying to leave a positive impact on everyone that I'm around. And I love helping people and I love talking shop. So welcome to the Legacy Lounge. We're gonna get started today. This is our pilot episode. It's the first one that we're getting started with. And I got a fun one for you guys. So we're gonna talk about some really cool stuff. We're gonna talk about entrepreneurship. We're gonna talk about life, building your goals, making the lifestyle that you wanna live, right? We're gonna do that while having a lot of fun. So I'm gonna joke around. We're gonna keep it PG-13 because here's why, guys. I'm so tired of all the stuff that's going on in society. I'm tired of the hustle porn where people just binge watch videos and they get guru bullcrap advice that doesn't help them. These are my experiences. So I'm going to say stuff on this show you guys might not agree with. That's fine. These are my experiences. This isn't something that I felt unicorn fairy dust. This is real experience from my 7 years of entrepreneurship and building multiple businesses. I still have a long way to go. I don't admit to know everything, but I do know some stuff. And what I'm going to talk about here is my real business advice. So we're going to have 4 segments to the show. We're going to get started with what I call open mic. You guys are listening to my show, so I'm going to talk about things that I want to talk about. Listen, I'm not getting paid to do this. This is something that I want to do for fun. But, if you guys wouldn't mind, leave a review, leave a comment, engage with me. This is something that I want to do for fun. I want to engage with you guys. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear your questions. I'll bring them up next show. But I'm going to start with open mic. You guys hand me the mic. Picture I'm in a comedy club and I'm just going to talk about whatever I want to talk about, right? So last week, my wife and I were just feeling super burnt out with our business. We're like, man, we got to get away. I don't know if you guys as entrepreneurs feel this way, but sometimes you're just like, I need to get out of my business. I need to do something fun for myself. So I was like, what am I going to do? My wife's like, why don't you go do something fun? I'm like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Long story short, we decided to go to the Capital One Orange Bowl, Penn State versus Notre Dame. Some of you guys might know I'm a Penn State alum. And, I love the football team, despite the fact that they lost. And I can't stand the football coach because he can't win the big game. They call him Big Game James because he's like 1 in 15 versus top 5 teams. It's pathetic. Hurts my heart, but it is what it is. We had a great time, went to Miami, stayed at the Guitar Hotel in Miami. It's the Hard Rock. It's amazing, guys. The whole hotel is shaped like a guitar. It's the only guitar hotel in the world. And we're in Miami, and these women, man, I'm telling you, women in Miami are crazy. It's like 65 degrees, and they're all in bikinis and thongs. And you know how Miami is. You got the big booties down in Miami. So it was hard, man. Like, it just kind of blew my mind. Like, man, it's so cold out. Look at these women. They're just letting it all hang out. And start thinking, I'm like, what's really the most important thing about a woman? Is it all about the smarts, or is it really about having a big, juicy personality? You know what I'm saying? So, personally, I think personality, if you catch my drift, is very important in a woman. So never want to get tied down to a woman who doesn't have a great personality.
Totally
You know what I'm saying?
agree.
Well, anyways, we're in Miami. Why don't you guys comment below? What do you think is more important? Smarts, like a big old behind, or a nice personality? We're gonna use code words. So the women out there don't know what we're talking about.
Totally agree.
Anyways, So my wife and I, we're getting ready to go to the game. And I start thinking, man, what a great venue. Penn State, Notre Dame, couple of great universities. Although people from Notre Dame, man, I gotta tell you guys, these guys, they're annoying. They're so pretentious. They think that they're the best. They're just so annoying. Like if there's one school aside from Ohio State that I don't like, it's Notre Dame. Man, my wife especially cannot stand Notre Dame. So if you're watching this show and you're a Notre Dame fan, I'm sorry for you. There's support groups for you. Although you guys have probably said the same thing about Penn Staters. But I mean, in all seriousness, guys, two great universities, great programs, high level of academic success. Hard to deny that some really cool things are happening at Notre Dame as well as Penn State. So I'm going to pivot into the next segment of the show, which is called, Is This Thing On? I'm going to test the mic and I'm going to see, is this thing really on? Meaning this or that. Is it true? Is it not? Is it fact or is it cap? So is this thing on? I started thinking, Penn State, Notre Dame. Look at how expensive it is to go to Penn State, Notre Dame, these prestigious universities. I went to Penn State. My parents paid for my schooling. It was about $30,000 a year because I was an out-of-state student. I also had room and board, had football tickets. Very blessed. My parents paid for it. I don't want to deny that extremely blessed, and I'm a rare case that I got to come out of school without student loan debt. So I think I have an interesting perspective on this. I started thinking, is it worth it to go to college? Like, don't get me wrong, it's fun going to the game and seeing everybody cheer and being able to say that I went to Penn State. I'm a real and true fan and alumni. I've been with the school I graduated 13 years ago. So it's really cool to be able to say that I've been with the program. I went to school there. I put my money where my mouth is. But the reality is, guys, I just started thinking, I'm like, I don't think it's really worth it anymore. So I decided to do some research because I like facts. I don't like to just have my opinion, right? I had a great time in school. Got to party, got to go to football games, got to do all the things, got to meet some really cool people. But from a numbers perspective, if you back all that out, numbers perspective, is college worth it? Is college worth it? Let's dive into it. Started doing some research, and it looks like there's 3 categories of how you can go to college, right? There's the expensive route. There's the Ivy Leagues, the private schools, the Harvards, the MITs, even your, local private school with a very small amount of students, more intimate setting, right? That's kind of the first option. Second option is you go to a state school. That would be like a Penn State, Texas, University of Oregon, Ohio State, some of these bigger state schools. And then there's some smaller state schools. Like my wife went to University of Akron, still a good state school. And then the third option is you can go the economical route, which is you do a combination of commuting and then you take you take all of your core classes at a community college, you commute there, and you commute to the actual university that you go to, which would likely be a state school as well. So I use ChatGPT, one of my favorite tools. I actually nicknamed my ChatGPT Alex. So I said, "Hey Alex, what's the ROI here? If I take all 3 cases, is there a good return on investment?" And here's what I found. In the first scenario, if you go to school at like a Harvard or an MIT, one of these prestigious universities, first of all, going to be extremely hard to get into, very selective. Most of the people that go to these schools are either going to be on scholarship or their parents are going to be extremely wealthy, right? But let's just say you went between tuition and expenses, you were looking at $250,000 to $300,000 to graduate from school there. That's crazy. Now, I understand there's some financial aid, stuff like that potentially, but for a big school like this, I don't see it. I don't really see them getting a lot of financial aid. Second option would be a state school, like I said, something like a Penn State, Texas, University of Oregon, things like that. Between tuition and expenses, it's going to cost you $120,000 to $150,000. Now, keep in mind, that is if you are an in-state student. So if you go to Oregon, you have to live in Oregon. If you go to Ohio State, you've got to live in Ohio. So if you happen to grow up in an area and you don't like that school, you're screwed, right? You have to go to an in-state school that you have to go to a school inside that state to benefit from this. If you don't and you go out of state, you're going to pay the same prices that you would pay for a expensive school like Harvard or Yale, which in my case I did. My parents were able to afford to send me to an out-of-state school, and it was $30,000 a year just in tuition for me to go to Penn State. Crazy, right? Now you got the last step, the economical route. This is community college, this is you commuting, this is you living at home. Total cost would be about $50,000 to $60,000. Okay, so that's about $15,000 a year. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, that's the cheapest option. So you're looking at 50 to 60 grand, no matter which option you go, all the way up to $250,000 or more. Kind of crazy, right? Here's where I get extremely frustrated. High school guidance counselors push so hard for people to go to college without understanding the unique situation that student is in, right? Think about it. 1 year or 2 years of bad decisions of going to college when you're not supposed to, going to the wrong school, making the wrong choice could be $25, $50, $100,000 in debt for some of these students. And they have to carry that for the rest of their life. So we need to make sure that we're making the right choices. So this honestly just irritated me when I started thinking about how expensive it is. I started thinking, I got 3 kids, I gotta get my money together so I can send these kids to school. Here's what I also learned. College tuition has increased by 180% since 1980. It's far outpacing wage growth. So college is definitely way more expensive than it used to be. Another thing is, we all know this, if we go with the grain and we do everything that everybody else is doing, we're going to get the same result that everybody else is getting. So back in the 80s, not everybody went to college because it was considered to be a privilege. It was considered to be something that was extra. It was considered in a lot of cases only for rich and white collar people. Now, magically, college is for everybody. We want to send everybody to college. Most good high schools in good areas, 90% of the kids are going to college. What's going to happen to the blue collar workforce? What's going to happen to our workforce in general? Do you guys see what happened? Now everybody has to go to college. Here's another thing. Only 41% of the people actually graduate in 4 years, meaning that these numbers are actually wrong because most people are going for a 5th year, a 6th year, and that's not for a master's degree. That's no additional education. That is for a 4-year degree. They have turned a 4-year degree into a 6-year program because people can't graduate on time. They're missing a class, a credit. They have to go an extra semester. They decide to take a break in the middle of it. But here's the thing. Money don't stop when you're not in school. You still got to pay all your bills. You live at home. Even if you live at home, you got a car, you got insurance, you got all this stuff that you have to pay for. Here's what really got my blood boiling. Do you guys know the national dropout rate is 40%? 40%. That's pretty darn close to almost half of the people that go to college don't even finish. Crazy, right? Crazy. Now, I understand that falls on the student, but at some point, we got to take responsibility for this as a country and as a nation, as a society, that almost 50% of the people are failing. And here's the thing, your degree only matters if you actually finish. That's the crazy part. You could get I personally know people who went to college and they got to their last semester and had something crazy happen in their family. They had to drop out. Maybe they had a kid, something crazy happened. And it was all for nothing because they didn't have that one last semester. And by the time they calculated how hard it would be to go back and eventually your credits expire conveniently, the experience was good when you graduated and it's supposed to last forever. But if you miss so many years or semesters, it's no longer applicable anymore and you got to go back. At that point, it just wasn't worth it for them. So their degree was all for nothing. Here's the other thing. What about all the different degrees that we have? There are so many stupid degrees that we have out there that people are graduating with. So I decided to do some research. I'm like, what industries actually require degrees? Things like engineering, nursing, becoming a doctor, a lawyer. Okay, great. What industries don't require a degree? Well, lots of different things. There's a lot of art degrees, history, things like that. Education, it requires a degree, but it requires a specific kind of degree. So if you get an educate, if you get a, so if you get a degree in history, in some states, if you have a bachelor's, you're able to teach. In some, you have to get a degree in secondary education. Interesting. You want to know what's really interesting though, what applies to me and probably you and some of your friends out there who are also in the business world? The business world kind of seems to be a gray area, right? Do you actually need a degree in the business world? I don't think so. In today's day and age, I really don't think so. I think if you want to work a corporate job and you want to sit in an office and you want to wear your white collar fancy thing and you want to suck up to your boss and you want to prepare reports and become an intern, I think college makes sense for you. I really do. But what a miserable way to live, man. I just think there's better curriculums out there that can help people get relevant experience than sitting in a classroom and talking about stupid terms like law of diminishing returns. Like you learn that in the business world with real experiences. You don't learn that from a classroom. You don't learn economies of scale by sitting in a classroom. You learn it by talking to your suppliers and talking to your vendors and being like, the more I buy, the more my costs go down and the more profit my business makes, right? And even if you don't own a business, real life experience is what matters.
Totally
You want to know the
agree.
scariest part about this college situation? We could talk about parties, we could talk about whether business class is good or not. Here's the scariest part. Here's the reality of it. Student loan debt in America right now is $1.727 trillion.
Ta-da!
$1.7 trillion. Isn't that crazy? The average person in America who has student loans right now has $28,000 of student loan debt. That's so scary. That's disgusting that everybody has to carry this burden. Now, I understand people will say, well, you signed up for it. You're the one who did it. You're the one who has the student loan. Then you should stop crying about it. You're the one who got the experiences. I am not an advocate for student loan forgiveness, just so you know. My wife had student loans. We paid for them. We didn't ask for forgiveness. I think student loan forgiveness is not the answer. I think it's ridiculous that we have so many kids in student loan debt, but forgiving people's student loans and making college free, that's not going to do any good because then everybody's going to have a degree. It's going to become a commodity. I mean, it already is almost, but then it's just going to create more chaos, right? College isn't even going to be worth it. I don't believe in student loan forgiveness. There is something to be said for the amount of student loan debt that we have that's creating a financial strain on millennials and even Gen X. Gen X isn't able to retire because they still have outstanding student loan payments. Crazy. I know some people who pay $1,000 a month for their student loans. It's just crazy, guys. It's crazy, and I don't understand it. So we've talked about the costs, and some people would put like, what's the opportunity, right? Like, how much am I gonna make on the back end of going to college? Because everybody says if you go to college, you're gonna make more. So yeah, it's an investment, right? I actually have the answer for you. According to ChatGPT, which knows everything, right? If you go to one of these three categories, you got the high, like the Harvards, the MITs, you got the medium, which is like a Penn State, Texas, University of Oregon, things like that, and you have the economical route. Here's your expected ROI, okay? If you go to the most expensive option, say you go to Harvard, your expected lifetime ROI would be $1 million to $2 million in additional income earned on $250,000 to $300,000 going to school. I think that's a pretty good. I would do that deal. Let's say I would do that deal, right? If you go to a standard state school, tuition and expenses 120 to 150,000, your lifetime ROI is 500,000 to a million. Okay? Still, I'd probably do that deal, right? It's a 5 to 10x return on your money. If you go the economical route, 50 to 60,000 in spend for 300 to 600,000 in lifetime ROI. Yeah, do that deal. That's a 5 to 10x return on your investment. Here's the thing though, guys. There's a lot that we're not factoring in there. How many of those people drop out? Dropout rate says about 40%. So 40% of the people are never going to realize this ROI. Next thing is, we're not factoring in how long is it going to take somebody to graduate if they screw up, they change their major, they do something different, they transfer universities. That could make these expenses go up significantly. What about people who finish their degree and never do anything with it? What if you get a degree in underwater basket weaving? All jokes aside, what if you get a legit degree in history or anthropology or something like that, liberal arts? What if you never do anything with it? Then you're not going to realize this number. You're not going to realize this income. So it doesn't matter, guys. So I think under normal circumstances, it can make sense. And I think that's what people do is they look at the statistics and the numbers and they say, oh, wow, like even if I just go to a standard state school, I can make an extra 500,000 to $1 million over my lifetime. And all I have to pay is 120 to 150,000. That's a good deal. It can be, but not in the wrong circumstances. So we're going to talk a little bit more later during my last segment of the show as we wrap everything up, if it's actually worth it. But my initial thoughts are, man, I have a hard time seeing it. I think it's frustrating, especially when I do a lot of coaching. I talk to entrepreneurs every single day, and I see so many young students that are hungry. They want to grow. They want to make money. They want to get real world experience. They don't want to sit in a classroom all day and learn from a professor who has no real world business experience. The dude's been teaching theory for 30 years. What are you really going to learn from somebody like that? Now, I know that there's some upsides, and people say college is good to help you get your schedule together, and it teaches you responsibility and teaches you how to be on your own. You could make an argument there, but I think you could do that in a lot of different ways. Personally, I think people use college as a 4-year excuse to party and have fun, but that's just me. Well, hey, anyway, we're going to move on to the next segment of the show, which is called Just the Tips. I'm not gonna be able to give you guys all the information. I don't have all the answers. I'm just a normal guy. I have a business. I got a family, got a wife and kids. But I'll give you the tip. I'll give you just the tip. I'll give you just enough to where you can get some information here. Just the tips is the part of the show where we do Q&A. People will ask me questions. I'll answer it live. Sometimes it'll pertain to the show. Sometimes it won't. And I'll try to give you everything I got. I'll give you all 2 inches. Got a question here from Brandon out of Charleston, South Carolina. Brandon's actually a buddy of mine. I go to church with him. And he asked the question, how do you balance work and family life? How do you make sure that you're making enough time for your family, but also achieving your goals at work? This is a great question, man. To be honest with you, I've been an entrepreneur for 7 years. Work-life balance is really challenging at times because you work so hard to get your business off the ground. It's just kind of what it requires. But here's some practical tips that I would give you, man. Number one, don't view your work as your everything. Your work is your fuel to give you the things that you want in life. I work hard so I can have fun. I can go to Miami. I can go to the game. I can take my kids on a Disney cruise. I work hard so that I can provide for my family. I work hard so that I can have time. I think some people have it mixed up where they feel like they've got to work hard, they've got to achieve, they've got to do all this stuff because that's their identity. So number one, don't get your identity wrapped up in your work. Your work is a part of who you are. It's not the everything of who you are. Some of you might know I went through a mental health crisis because I was so in my work and I couldn't pick my head up and I wasn't doing the right thing. So it can definitely catch up with you. Is you have to have good boundaries in place. Sometimes when I get home from work, I work from home, but when I'm done working, I'll put my phone down, I'll plug it in the charger, and I just won't pick it up. I generally don't try to answer messages outside of normal business hours. The thing is, if you do it once, people are going to believe that you're going to do it again. So you're kind of training them to message you outside of normal business hours. And as hard as it is, just wanting to respond, I just don't, because I want to have that time for myself and my family. And here's the other thing. I think this is the most important part of it. And the part that people don't talk about very much is that you have to incorporate your work into your life. Just like you incorporate your health and fitness into your life, just like you incorporate your faith into your life. All of these things are not independent things. Like I think so many people go, okay, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to do this perfectly. And then I'm going to go perfectly to work and I'm going to go perfectly to home and I'm going to put my phone down. I'm never going to pick it up and I'm never going to check my email. I think there's something to be said for that, having those bumpers and those boundaries. But here's the reality. Like, it doesn't always work that way. Like if you got a big deal you need to close, man, like sometimes you got to go take that phone call. Sometimes you got to take extra time off because you haven't had time with your family. So it is a balancing act. Here's why I like to set my goals. I like to have different goals. I have faith, family, fitness, fun, and finance. And these goals kind of balance me out. So my work goals push me to work hard and achieve big things. Whereas my family goals ground me, my faith goals ground me. So it's this constant thing. Oh, I'm working too hard. I'm working all these hours. I'm making money. I'm growing. Okay, how can I serve more at my church? How can I spend more time with my family? Okay, I'm rested now. I spent time with my family. I went and had fun. How do I go achieve more? How do I make more money? How do I go and accomplish the things I want to accomplish in the business world? And then you kind of just play this balancing out. You just never want them to get too far out of whack, but you want to make sure that your goals counterbalance each other. You want to incorporate them all together. It's never going to be perfect. And Brandon, I just know you personally, man. Just know you're never going to be perfect. You're a great dad. You're an awesome dude. You serve at the church with me. Just thankful to have you in my life, brother. And just know that like you're doing the best you can, dude. And that's all you can do. So make sure you love on those kids every day. Make sure that you spend time with God every day. Make sure that you love on your wife and you spend dedicated time with her. Go on date nights. That's a big thing. My wife and I go on a weekly date night. We do trips away with each other. It's just so many things. And you're just never going to be perfect, but you do the best you can, man. So you're doing a great job, Brandon. Stay encouraged, bro. Do the best that you can with what you have. All right, next question we have just the tips. We got a question from Hagen. Hagen's out of Dallas, Texas. He's a young buck getting started in his business. He's been an entrepreneur for a couple years now. Hagen has an exterior cleaning business, and he actually purchased one of my licenses for my marketing company, and he's doing it himself. He's doing a great job. So what up, Hagen? 19 years old, growing as a businessman. Proud of you, bro. He said, how important is it to build a personal brand in today's day and age? Man, that is a great question. It seems like all these Gen Z guys, they want to shoot videos, they want to have a YouTube channel, they want to have a personal brand. And I think some of the boomers are like, man, these kids, all they want to do is shoot videos. Here's the reality, man. You Gen Zers, you guys are ahead of the game. You guys understand it. You're with it. You realize that building a personal brand is so important. And I'm going to make a bold statement here and say building a personal brand is probably the most important thing you can do in business right now. It's the most important thing. Your personal brand will make you more money than probably any asset class that you can have, given that you do it the right way. Here's the thing, everybody has a personal brand. It's just how are you leveraging it? How are you utilizing it? And so having a personal brand doesn't always mean you need to have a YouTube channel. It doesn't mean you need to have 1 million followers or anything like that. You can make millions of dollars off of 2, 3, 4,000 followers easily. You don't need to have a huge following, but it's very important. Here's what your personal brand is. It's who you are, what you represent, your mission, your vision, your values. It's who you are as a person. And if you have a good, strong personal brand that's consistent, if people say the same things about you, regardless of what room that you're in, it carries a lot of weight. So one of my buddies, Tim, he always talks about with his personal brand, I want undeniable proof that I am who I say I am. I want undeniable proof. Meaning, if you do business with my company, I want to have hundreds of reviews, hundreds of raving customers that are like, this company is the best company to work with. As a person, I want undeniable proof that I am who I say I am, that I'm consistent, that I do the right thing. I want undeniable proof. And that's what your personal brand is. So, Hagen, to answer your question, how important is it? It's extremely important. So right now, even if you don't have a YouTube channel, you don't have, your own show, your own podcast or anything like that, your personal brand is so much more than that. It's who you are when the cameras are off. Your personal brand is undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. So it's extremely important, man. I would continue to keep doing what you're doing, keep doing the right thing, just be consistent. And I know you got the ability and the talent to be somebody who could be a YouTube star. Not that that's the most important thing, but you know, you're an awesome marketer, dude. So I really encourage you to continue to promote yourself, promote everything that you're doing, and you're going to go really far in life, Hagen. Awesome. Well, guys, we're wrapping up the show. We're at the end of it. This is the last segment of the show. It's called Mic Drops, where I drop the mic. I got to get a real microphone. I'm going to get a real microphone and I'm going to smack it on the next episode. But we got the mic drops where I go over all the things that I talked about in this show, what's true, what's not, final comments, final moments. So, a couple of mic drops for you guys. We talked a lot on the show. We talked about having a nice personality. We talked about being in Miami, but most importantly, we talked about college. Is college worth it or not? And I got to be honest with you guys, I don't think it is. This is going to be a mic drop moment. I don't think college is worth it. College is only worth it in the right circumstances. And what are those circumstances? Number one, if you can go to college with little to no debt when you graduate. So if your parents are paying for it, you're getting scholarships, you're working your way through it, or if you have to take out student loans, as minimal as possible. Make sure those student loans are used for actual tuition, not living expenses and things like that. Live at home, work, pay your way through college, right? That's the first circumstance. Number two, if you are going to go to college, know what you want to study. People say you'll take your gen ed classes your first year anyway, so it doesn't even really matter. It's BS. It's not true. You want to go in with a mission and a plan. You know, I'm a believer in God, and there's a Bible verse that says, a wise person counts the cost before entering into a project. So count the cost. How much is it going to cost? What am I going to study? What's my action plan? What am I going to do when I graduate? Now, it's not always going to be perfect. Plans change, right? But go in there with a mission. Although my parents paid for my school, I went in there with a mission. I knew exactly what degree I was going to study. I knew it was going to take me 4 years, and I was going to be in and out, and I was going to be making money. Plain and simple. Go in with an action plan. And the third one, and the most important part, if you are going to go to college, graduate. Actually graduate.
Totally
Don't
agree.
knock somebody up. And if you do, finish, right? Don't drop out of school because you're not feeling it that day. Finish. If you start something, finish it, right? And if you don't finish in 4 years and you go more semesters, your likelihood of finishing just goes down further and further because you're going to lose motivation. Go to college and finish, because if you are one class short and you don't graduate, that piece of paper ain't worth it. It's not worth anything. So you have to finish. You have to graduate. So go in with a plan. Okay? Mic drop moment. College is only worth it in the right circumstances. All right. Boom. Mic drop. Another one. Guys, I'm going to make a bold statement here. You guys ready for this? College is a scam. It's actually a scam in some instances. My gosh, I can't believe I'm saying it. I don't know if you guys know, but the FTC is really cracking down on guru influencer people. They're probably going to hate this show, but they're cracking down on people like me, right? And they want you to prove that you are the real deal, right? If somebody buys a program from you, whether it's a course, a training thing, that it is what it says that it is. You can't make these false, bold claims anymore and say, hey, if you buy this program, you're going to make $3 million, and people don't actually make it. Well, why don't we hold the academic universities to that same standard, right? Why don't we actually sit down and do this ROI? Why is nobody going in and saying, do we realize that only 60% of the people are actually graduating college? So like almost half the people are making no return on investment. Is anybody like holding these universities accountable? Who's holding them accountable for rising tuition costs? Who's holding them accountable for all the extra bullcrap classes that we have to take if we want to graduate? Who wants to take these stupid elective classes? When I was in school, I had to take German because I had to have a secondary language. Like, who cares? What does that have to do with my business degree? What does that have to do with understanding marketing and finance and supply chain? It doesn't. It's for them to get more money out of you. It's a complete scam. In some instances, it's a complete and total scam. I think college, if they make you go and you have to get it, it should be choose the courses that you want to take that apply to your major that you specifically need to know to get the information, to work at the job, to be valuable to that organization. A lot of companies are saying you don't even need college anymore because they realize how stupid that it actually is. I had to take so many dumb elective classes and my parents had to pay for it. And if I wasn't blessed I would have had to pay for it. Like energy engineering, German, art classes. Like, dude, I don't want to take these classes. So, guys, college scam in some instances. Total scam in some instances of people who don't graduate, but in others, it's partially a scam because they make you go for 4 years. They waste a ton of your time. They make you take stupid, stupid classes. So, college is a scam. Mic drop moment. So what do you do about it? Well, I've been privileged to a lot of alternative education methods. So things like going to business meetups, networking, events, mastermind groups, specialty coaching and training where you just hire a specific coach or a mentor in that specific subject. I feel that that's way more applicable. And you know what? There's no better experience than real world, real life experience. So get a job and learn. Learn from somebody who's farther ahead than you. You want to learn about marketing? Go work for a marketing company. Don't sit in class and learn about marketing theory. If you want to learn about finance, go work for a company where you do bookkeeping and you do financial planning and you learn finances, you learn budgeting, you learn how to use Excel formulas. Go and actually get real life experience. And if you're young out there and you're considering going to college or going the alternate route, let's chat because I would love to talk through that with you. I don't have any programs to sell you or anything like that, but I would love to make sure that you make the right decision versus a guidance counselor who doesn't know anything about you, doesn't know anything about your goals, your situation, anything like that. Let's make sure that you're making the right decision so you don't get hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt that you can't pay back because you got a stupid degree that doesn't apply to you. So, mic drop moment. Use alternative education, talk to people who know what they're talking about, and only get advice from people that you would change spots with. If you wouldn't trade spots with that guidance counselor, I'm not listening to them. I'm listening to people who have what I want and are already 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of me. That's all the only people that I take advice from. Okay. So, mic drop moment, alternative education. Be careful about who you listen to. Guys, it's been an amazing show with the Mic Check Yourself show. First episode under our books. This was awesome. There's a lot of work to get all this stuff set up, but I'm super excited for the future, what we're going to be able to do. It was so fun talking to you guys. Can't wait to hear what your comments are. Send me a DM, comment below, comment on the channel so I can hear more from you guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being a supporter. Keep in mind, big personality always wins. Let's go. This is the Mic Check Yourself show, signing off.